So, the Indiana Fever are playing basketball again today, which you know what that means? I can make more Caitlin Clark videos. Clearly, it's carrying this channel right now, but don't worry. We're going to be, trust me, the number one source of Olympic basketball as well. The NBA, other guys have got that, but we're going to be there for the Olympics. Before we go on, if you guys aren't new to the channel, subscribe. We're trying to 6,500 subscribers as soon as possible. We're like 200 away. If we can hit that by the end of the weekend, that would be incredible. But Caitlin Clark is playing the worst team in the WNBA. They are playing the Washington Mystics. The Mystics are on the end of a back-to-back where they were terrible last night. They shot well to start the game. I'm not joking. They are terrible. They're absolutely terrible. They don't play defense. They turn the ball over a lot. Their defense relies on banking on you missing shots. And Aaliyah Edwards is fantastic. She's absolutely fantastic. But other than that, they've got nothing. They've really got nothing. Like, I've only watched their first... yes, it was the first full game I've watched. I watched the second half for them against the Connecticut Sun, where they looked absolutely terrible as well. I've watched bits and pieces of them playing. Like, I've watched every team in a full game at least once. They were the last team I hadn't seen. And my God, they're worse than they're as bad as their record suggests. They are 0-10. Like, people think the Fever are bad. No. The Mystics are so much worse. The Mystics seem to be as badly coached. Like, they're up 13 points. A lot of that 13 points is due to Aaliyah Edwards, and she didn't shoot the ball for the rest of the fourth quarter because they did not pass her the ball. Like, they're worse for giving the ball to Edwards than the Fever are for giving it to Clark. But this is going to be a big, big game for the Indiana Fever because this is like their first must-win game. I think the Sparks game is one where you're like, if you watch the game, I think throughout the totality of the game, the Fever were the better team. I think the Fever going up quite big and then coming back on and then taking Nalissa Smith, who was playing really well, and Clark off at the same time and them going on a big run. Or was it Smith and Clark or Fagbenley and Clark that game? One of the games was Smith and Clark. The other was Fagbenley and Clark when the other team went on a big run to win the game. I think it was the Storm when Clark was taken off and lost the game. But it's against the Mystics, or not against the Mystics, against the Sparks. They should have won that game. They really should have. But the Sparks just lit them up. But other than that, like, against bad teams, they've beaten the Sky. And the Sky are the only other bad team they've played so far, other than the Sparks. Like, other games they've lost are to a really good Storm team who were fully healthy. They've lost twice to the Storm, they've lost 3 times to the Liberty, and they've lost twice to, what's their names? The Sun, who are exceptionally good. They've lost one more game that I just can't think of. Sorry, they lost one to the Sparks. Who's the other team they've lost to? Obviously, just off the top of my head, have completely just blanked on that one. But they are a team, they have tended to beat the teams they're meant to beat. And, like, if they go and win this game tonight, I wouldn't be that worried about them, to be honest. I really wouldn't, because they've gone through the damn gauntlet. And I don't think anyone who's been watching the league this year will say anything other than that. They have gone through, and they've lost to the Aces as well. Sorry, that was it. They've gone through the gauntlet. They have the Sun in a couple of days, but like they have the Dream, which is a winnable game. Then they have Chicago at home. Then they have the Mystics again at home. Then Atlanta, who are beatable. Then Chicago again. So like they have a 5-game stretch where they don't play a good team. And if they go 3-2 in that 5-game stretch and win tonight, suddenly it's looking like not a good season, but an acceptable season. And they have beaten basically everyone they're meant to beat. But tonight is a big one. Especially it's a big one for Caitlin Clark because this team does not have the individual players to guard her. They just don't. Like, this is going to be one of those games where unless Christy Sides screws up badly, and by screws up badly, I mean coaching the game like she did against the Liberty. Twice, by the way. Twice against the Liberty, she's decided to run Erica Wheeler at the point, Caitlin Clark at the 3, and and Kelsey Mitchell at the 2. That is the worst lineup you can possibly run, because when that lineup is ran, Erica Wheeler, if she has the option to give the ball to Kelsey Mitchell or Caitlin Clark, she will give it to Kelsey Mitchell 9 times out of 10. Whereas, at least, if Grace Berger is running the 1, if you want to run Caitlin Clark at the 2 or the 3, please put Grace Berger at the 1. She'll at least pass the ball to Caitlin. Or she'll at least look to pass the ball to Caitlin Clark. But it was a completely incompetent coaching display. because it was the exact same way. They lost by 40, but it was the exact same coaching that lost them by 40 in the second game of the year. And both times they've ran Caitlin Clark, put Caitlin Clark standing in the corner, and Clark's getting frustrated. And in fairness, completely like not right, but she's getting frustrated because she's not getting the ball. And then every time she gets the ball, she was shooting dumb shots because she was like, I'm not going to touch the ball for 5 possessions in a row. So when I catch it, I have to shoot. So it was just incredibly dumb coaching. If the Fever played that way, fake an injury, Caitlin Clark, because you're going to shoot 1 of 10 again, or you're going to shoot 0 shots for a game, and your team's going to lose by 30. It is what it is. But if they actually play it like they did against the Chicago Sky, which I thought was really, really good. Like, you can play Erica Wheeler for some bench minutes. I think playing Caitlin Clark 30 out of 40 minutes and giving Erica Wheeler 10 minutes to run the show is probably the way to do it. I think stagger their minutes and very rarely play them with each other. If you're playing them with each other, don't put Kelsey Mitchell on the floor. I think the 3 of them is the worst guard combo. I think the best combo is probably Caitlin Clark at the 1. You've got the best, what I would say is probably Caitlin Clark at the 1, at the 2 running with Kelsey Mitchell, and probably going with like Katie Lou at the 3 and going with Smith and Boston at the 4-5. I think that's probably the best lineup. And if you're going to put like Erica Wheeler on the floor, just bench Caitlin Clark. Give Erica Wheeler 10 minutes a game that she deserves. She doesn't deserve more than that. Put Caitlin Clark on the bench for those 10 minutes, and then that means you've got lineups with some sort of cohesion. Because when Caitlin Clark is off the floor and Smith and Mitchell, Wheeler, Smith, Boston are on the floor, they play a completely different style. They run through the post, and it is like basically whoever the small forward or the 3 is in that scenario, literally their job is to do nothing. And unfortunately, when that lineup is there and Caitlin Clark's job is to do nothing, the team doesn't. Like, Caitlin Clark gives you nothing, and when she's pissed off, she's not going to be beaten. Defensive end, that is a flaw in her game, sure, but at the end of the day, it's a known thing, and she's not going to have change it in a week. That's not going to change in a week. So if they want to win this game, they run through Clark. They run through Clark, and they got to get stops. They got to get stops, run. Caitlin Clark will find players. And this is an incredibly turnover-prone team. Like, this team right here, this Washington Mystics team, they are incredibly turnover-prone. Like, the one thing they have is depth, I guess. Their bench score a lot of points. That's the one positive thing for the Washington Mystics, but they're incredibly turnover-prone. Like, Alia Edwards is turnover-prone. Their guards are turnover-prone. Van Loo's turnover-prone. They are very, very, very turnover-prone as a team. So what is going to happen, especially because they can get cold as anything. Like, they've got Samuelson, who can shoot the ball. Like, some of their players are streaky. So if the Fever are able to get stops and run, they're as good as any team in the league if they're able to do that. And I think they should be able to do that today more than any other team. This has got to be a statement game if you're Indiana. This cannot be a loss. You cannot give Washington their first game of the year. And if they lose this game by, like, look, they're going out by Caitlin Clark stinking it. The only way they lose this game is if Caitlin Clark absolutely stinks it up. But if Caitlin Clark stinks it up because she's told to stand in the corner and gets frustrated, fire Christy Sides on the spot. If they lose the game because Caitlin Clark's, she does have a tendency to do wild stuff. She's throwing mad passes. She's almost unplayable on the floor, and she has to be subbed off, and her plus minus is worse than the final score. Then cool, maybe Caitlin Clark just isn't that great. But at the same time, so far this season, she's shown that while the shot isn't falling, she's still the best lead transition run the floor point guard in this entire league. Unless you want to count players that just go head down to the basket like Kenny Carter, but she's not really a point guard. And ironically, at the same time, Kennedy Carter with Caitlin Clark. Like, if you somehow swapped the picks and Chicago got the 1 pick and 7 instead of 3 and 7, and you put Caitlin Clark at the 1 on that team with Marina Mabry, Kennedy Carter off the bench with Angel Reese running the floor with Elizabeth Williams, that's again another joke of a team. But she's really, really good at that. And I think if the Fever can play to the strengths of Caitlin Clark, they're going to be better than if they play without it. And I think this is going to be one of those games where they really are going to step up. I can see them winning this game and winning it comfortably. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that they have a chance? Do you guys think it's time for a change? I think if they lose this game, something needs to change. Whether it's cutting, whether it's cutting a Celeste Taylor and bringing in a vet, whether it's cutting a Saxton and bringing in a vet. Like, I don't know, is Dantas ever going to play basketball? Whether you're going to have to trade Alexi Hull for a player on another team that might be like a disgruntled player from another team, because Lexi Hull could give another team something. I don't think you're going to get anything for Wallace because she sucks. But there are players. There needs to be something done. It's a team that's horribly constructed. And then if you're the GM, I think you got to make a decision not even necessarily this year, but because you're in tank mode. If you start losing a couple more games, you're not going to make the playoffs anyway. I would probably say try to make one of two decisions. And those decisions being, do we rearrange our roster to best suit Caitlin Clark? And there are so many players in the league that are on benches of teams that would really, really help Caitlin Clark, because players that play defense and run, that is all you have to do to play defense, run, cut. If you can do those three things, you will succeed with Caitlin Clark. And Caitlin Clark can run the show and succeed with a team like that. It is always the case where it's like, if you've seen like even Lonzo Ball when he first came into the NBA, when he was with UCLA, he actually looked quite good as a rookie on that Lakers teams that ran. And he looked okay with LeBron James. But like, there were certain times where the game went a bit too slow down in that first year with LeBron, where maybe he didn't look great at times there. And he struggled at times when everything goes slow down. But like, when he was running the show early in his career, it looked good. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That is the video. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.